Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Winter, and today I thought I'd go ahead and do a miniature review of Goosebumps, the movie, the game. I've just finished this for the PlayStation 4. This is also available for the PlayStation 3, Steam, Xbox 360, and Xbox One. And in fact, Xbox 360 gets a free demo. I cannot speak for the other consoles, except that I do know that there was not a free demo available for PlayStation 4. And if you are a Steam user, then this is incredibly cheap for you. And that's probably a good thing. So, this is, of course, a point-and-click game that was released in October of 2015 to coincide with the release of the movie Goosebumps, which was about to come out at that time with Jack Black, which has since released, and I have not seen yet, so I don't know if it's any good or not, or if this game does the movie any justice or vice versa. From what I understand, this is supposed to be a prequel to the movie, but I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb here, even having not seen the movie, and say that you don't need to play this game to understand what's going on in the movie. In fact, from what I see, it seems to be pretty much a carbon copy of sorts. The premise is pretty much the exact same thing. A bunch of r.l.stine's creatures have sprung from the pages of the Goosebumps books, and it is up to one boy and various characters that he encounters along the way to put things right and put the creatures back in the books where they belong. There's a lot of notable cameos. Well, actually, not so many. There's probably quite a few if you've read all the books. I did not read all the books. I stopped reading back in maybe 96 or 97, and at that time there were only 60 of the books out, and now there's a lot more. So I can't really say for sure which cameos are creatures that the game developers themselves came up with and which ones are actually from the books. But I did recognize the Beast from the East, Slappy, and of course the Monster Blood. And another notable cameo is Jelly Jam, which is actually pretty clever. I really got a kick of how that turned up in the game. So what's the gameplay like? Well, it's point and click, you know. You just move your cursor around, you click on things, you see what you can use, what you can look at, what you can take with you, what you can combine with this or with that. Fairly simple. Not a whole lot to it. And that's fine. It works pretty well. I'm not going to lie, I'm not the biggest fan of point and click. And I wasn't really sure if I was going to enjoy this. In fact, if it didn't have the Goosebumps name on it, I would go ahead and not pick it up. You know, that's how much I enjoy point and click. In fact, the last time I played a point and click game and really got in deep on one was Maniac Mansion back for the Nintendo, way back when, okay? So that's how kind of burned out on that genre I got at that time. Of course, I was also about 10 years old. I'm a little bit older now, so I've got a little bit more patience for them. And you're going to need patience with this. This is a great game for the kids. It's very kid-friendly. But if they do have problems with patience, you might want to keep an eye on them and kind of just make sure that they're staying calm. Because even me, being a somewhat patient guy, you know, I've got my limits like everyone else. But I had to walk away from it for about an hour and a half because there was one puzzle that absolutely boggled my mind. I was searching everything. I was looking here, looking there, combining this with that, and nothing was working. So I ended up actually having to go online and look up a guide for it, which I hate doing. I really try to avoid that whenever I can. So be warned, there are a couple of patience testers in this, but nothing that's going to set you back too far. And in fact, speaking of setting you back too far, this is a fairly short game. So you could easily finish this in a day if you do have the patience. In fact, my playtime total at the end of it was probably 6 hours. And that was me checking out every possible thing that I could because I got lost on one puzzle. And not only that, but there is actually a timed puzzle where you have to put something into something, leave it sitting there for exactly 60 seconds, pull it out, and then put it into another thing and put that in there for exactly 60 seconds. No more, no less. If you get 62 seconds, it's done. You got to start over again. 50 seconds, it's done. You got to start over again. So that was kind of frustrating. And it's actually fairly simple to get confused on that one. I would highly recommend, and you will know it when you get to it, I would highly recommend, if you don't have a goddamn clue what to do when you get there, just walk around the house and explore every possible thing. The solution is there. You just got to dig deep for it. So the puzzles aren't too difficult though, except for the odd patience tester and that timed one. The timed one is really the one that tested my patience more than anything else, I think. I hate that shit. It was very frustrating, and I had to look up a guide for that one too. So get your stopwatches ready. You'll know it when you get there. So let's talk about the music on this game. Now, there's only maybe 2 or 3 variations of the main musical track, and it gets very, very annoying after a while. It's nothing bad, it's just you kind of need a change of pace. But then you kind of realize, well, it's point and click, the pace is somewhat determined already. You can't really have big, exciting music in a game like this. I think it would just throw people off too much and just come so far out of left field, you wouldn't know what the hell's going on. So it's kind of drab. It's not bad, it's just kind of drab, and it gets annoying after a while. And it is on a constant loop, so you never get away from it. The main music, well, the music on the main menu, I suppose I should say, does share a chord progression that's eerily similar to the Goosebumps television show from the mid-90s, which I don't know if anybody else remembers that main theme or not, but as soon as I fired it up and heard that, I was instantly sent back to being a kid and getting excited about seeing that show on television. And, it was a nice little callback. There's, the callbacks in this game, well, I mean, let's face it, this is a nostalgic game. People are mainly going to check this out because they have such nostalgia for those books and for that television show. Level design, fairly simple, fairly straightforward. You have typically about 3 or 4 different routes to get to any one area. Once you get into the house, then the level design is fairly straightforward. There's 2 different ways to get into the house. And then there are 2 different ways to get around the house, and this is including a hidden little warp zone type area which you uncover, which does come in handy for one of the puzzles and especially trophy hunting later on in the game, if you're into that trophy hunting kind of thing. Which trophy hunting in this game it's not terrible. I got 68% on my first playthrough. I was really hoping to get 100 because I briefly skimmed the list before I started playing, as I always do. There are some that you can't see until you uncover them, which is always great because I like surprises. For the most part, it's pretty simple. Just take a look at everything, pick everything up that you can, and I think there's only 2 that may require a second playthrough if you don't get everything on the first time. Maybe 3 that require a second playthrough, but I don't see why anybody should play this game more than 3 times if you're just going for trophies. They're fairly straightforward and make a lot of sense. The story, and it's a Goosebumps book in video game form. As an adult, what scared me back when I was a kid doesn't really affect me now. It kind of humors me, and I did enjoy the story for the game. It, again, having not seen the movie and just seeing a preview for it, it does seem like a carbon copy of the movie just in video game form, which if that's the case, then yeah, I think I would enjoy the movie. But pretty decent story. It's okay. I wouldn't say it's the prime motivating factor to finish the game or anything like that, but it'll get you by. One thing I was disappointed in, however, I must admit, is there was no chicken reference. Very sad. In conclusion, though, this is a fairly decent game. It's great for the kids, I would think. It's very kid-friendly. There's nothing incredibly violent about it. You'll read about the violence, but you won't actually see the violence. And as this is helmed by Scholastic, and they had a hand in developing this, it's kid-friendly violence. So you're not going to get like, oh, the head was ripped off, and then the brains fell out, and the blood gushed. You're not going to get that kind of stuff. You're just going to get, oh, the dummy slaps you around a little bit, and then you fall down. That's the kind of violence that you're going to be exposing your children to with this. So definitely pick it up for the kids. I think it's good for them. Good for Goosebumps fan as well. I was satiated by this. I got exactly what I wanted out of it. Could have been a little bit better, I'm not going to lie. I don't do number rankings, so I'm not going to give this like a 7 out of 10 or anything like that. I'll just say I think it's a fairly well-made game and worth the money. But how much money is it worth? Well, as I said, Steam gets this incredibly cheap. Xbox 360 and all the other consoles, not so much. You're looking at about $15, which I can honestly not recommend. I would hold out for a sale on this one because, as I said, it's fulfilling, but it's not that fulfilling. And maybe if you enjoy point and click games, which again, admittedly, is a genre that I really don't care for, if you enjoy point and click games, then yeah, this may be worth the full price. If that's your genre of choice, go for it. You may find it worth it. I myself, I don't feel ripped off having paid full price for it, but I definitely wish I would have waited till it was on sale on the PlayStation Network again. When I fired it up, the very first thing that I thought when I saw the Game Mill logo pop up was I had flashbacks to a game called Rock Tour Tycoon, which was released in the early to mid 2000s for PC. I don't think it ever made it to any console, and it was a fantastic game. It was just like a sim park or something like that. You would go out, you would find local bands, you would name them, buy them instruments, book them gigs, put them on tour, and try to make them successful. And it was a great game. It was a lot of fun. But it had a flaw, and the flaw was the save system. It was absolutely horrendous because you would save your game once, keep playing again, go to save again, and when you would save, it would actually erase your previous save and not save that time. So what you would have to do is save a third time. Essentially, every other save would actually save, and then every other save besides those every other saves would delete your saves and not save anything, if that makes any sense. Now, that was the only game that I knew Game Mill from going into this game. So as soon as I saw that logo pop up, yeah, I was a little bit nervous, I remembered that. That was very frustrating because that was easily a 2 or 3 day game. You could probably go longer than that depending on how big you wanted to make your band. Not everybody's got the kind of time to marathon and cram that shit into a 10 or 12 hour session, because that's what it took to actually make headway in that game, was you weren't going to do it in 2 hours. But thankfully, Game Mill surprised me with this one. I can honestly say I didn't encounter any problems with the save system, and I did not, in fact, encounter any bugs. At least none that I noticed. Maybe there were a couple items that didn't show up. I can only speculate. I just know I didn't get the trophy for finding every single item. But by the time I realized that there was probably going to be a trophy for that, yeah, I'd already passed a couple of places that were, they weren't past the point of no return, but they were a little bit too far out of the way for me to justify going back just for a couple of items when I could easily get them on a second playthrough. So there we go, Goosebumps the game. It's pretty cool, great for the kids, it passes the time, and if you enjoy point and click games, and if you read the Goosebumps books when you were a kid, as I think a lot of people my age did, which I'm not going to tell you that age because that would make me feel old, but if you read those as a kid, or if your child is reading those today, because I'm well aware that they're still in print and they still sell, yeah, check it out. Pick it up on sale, PlayStation 3, 4, Xbox 360 and 1, and PC. Thank you all for watching this review. Hopefully I didn't bore you all, and I'll see you on the next one. And if anybody actually has an interest in this game, I do intend on doing a Let's Play series of it in the near future. So I got that much enjoyment out of it, at least, because I don't do those series unless it's a game that I enjoy. So, everybody take care out there. I'll see you all later.